Welcome to Hannity, and tonight we're just 6 days away from the Wisconsin primaries, and last night, 2016, Republican frontrunner Donald Trump said he would no longer honor the pledge that he signed to support the Republican nominee. Let's take a look.
Do you continue to pledge whoever the Republican nominee is?
No, I don't anymore. Look,
you don't?
No, we'll see who it is.
You won't promise to support the Republican nominee?
And he was essentially saying the same thing. Let me just tell you, he doesn't have to support me. I have tremendous support right now from the people. I'm way over 2 million votes more than him. I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't need their support. Now, maybe it'll be a negative, maybe it won't.
Now, Senator Ted Cruz and Governor John Kasich, they were asked the same question. They weren't as blunt as Donald Trump, but they did not say whether they would still honor the pledge. Take a look.
Do you still stand by the pledge to support whoever the nominee, even if it's Donald Trump?
Well, Anderson, as you mentioned, what I said is true. I'm not in the habit of supporting someone who attacks my wife and attacks my family.
So I just have to follow up. If Donald Trump is the GOP nominee, would you support him?
Let me tell you my solution to that. Donald is not going to be the GOP nominee. We're going to beat him.
I've been disturbed by some of the things that I've seen, and I have to think about what my word and endorsement would mean in a presidential campaign. So I want to see how this thing finishes out.
Here with reaction, former 2016 Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. He has endorsed Donald Trump. I'm getting concerned, and I wonder if you are as well. Not that you support Donald Trump, but I'm concerned things are very personal. For a few days, I would argue that the whole campaign on the Republican side has been off message. And, you know, if they're going to take this posture, how does that result in unity to defeat Hillary Clinton?
Well, Sean, as I've said before, the Republicans seem to have a penchant for snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. No matter how good things look, they do this. They destroy themselves. And what I would ask each of the candidates, Mr. Trump, Mr. Cruz, and Mr. Kasich, to consider is the fact that when they engage in this type of rhetoric, they drive wedges between their supporters. So whoever of the three ends up being the nominee will have a great deal of animosity built up from the supporters of the others, and they're not going to want to get behind them. That's going to essentially guarantee a victory by the Democrats, and if the Democrats win, they get 2 to 4 Supreme Court picks, and America as we know it will be gone. They've got to think of more than their own personal feelings here.
What do you think of John Boehner saying, oh, I think, well, you can nominate anybody you want on the floor. Paul Ryan would be a good choice, or the strategy that Mitt Romney has laid out, or some of the RNC, head honchos, one in North Dakota, somewhere else, basically saying they want a contested convention and that the goal right now is to prevent the person you endorse, Donald Trump, from getting to 1237. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it would be a colossal mistake. And, I'm starting to think that many of the so-called Republican establishment, of course, they say there is no such thing. We don't exist, but we know they do. I believe that many of them would prefer to have Hillary in there than to have Donald Trump, because she is part of the political establishment and can be controlled, whereas Donald Trump cannot be controlled. And they're not interested, Democrats or Republicans in the ruling class, of having somebody that they can't control.
I'm actually beginning to agree with you. I'm getting the sense that there is a desire to, and by the way, let me backtrack. There's a desire, after conservatives were told to suck it up with John McCain, suck it up with Bob Dole, for example, that they want to say, oh, all of you voters were wrong in choosing the top 2 people, Trump and Cruz. You guys were wrong. And so they're not going to, behind the scenes, they're not going to offer the support that they normally would, so they can stand back there like this and say, see, I told you so. I'm getting that feeling
Absolutely.
More and more.
Which virtually guarantees a loss. And somehow we have got to get them to understand that if you put Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton in there, what is going to happen will be so much worse than anything they could imagine with whichever of the Republicans they don't like.
It's a continuation of Obama's
They need to consider their
policies.
children and their grandchildren. Absolutely. But on steroids.
Well said. All right,
because
Dr. Carson. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, remember what I said about Hillary. Okay.
Yeah, I do remember. All right. Thank you, Dr. Carson.